Shalom. My name is Moreh Ishiyah Yisrael from the House of Israel in Cincinnati, Ohio, 2330 Kemper Lane, bringing to you in 40 minutes or less. In 40 minutes or less, I will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the word of Yahweh. Who is this Yahweh? Yahweh is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein. Yahweh is the Elohim of our fathers, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yisrael, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yahweh is our judge. Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our king, who will save us. Shalom, and praise the mighty Yah. Today's program, we're going to discuss in this lesson the month of Abib. And we're going to let you know the truth about the month of Abib. Today, many of our people teach that you must go to Jerusalem to see where this Abib is. You have to see where it's growing at. You have to determine the stage of its growth. And what I'm going to prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is not the truth at all. Although we do have a month called the month of Abib, it is the very first month of the year. But Yahweh has already set his days, his times, his seasons, days and years. He already let you know that it's 30 days a month, every month. He already let you know it's 12 months in a year. And you're also going to learn, and we're going to bring it to you in 40 minutes or less. That is only 52 weeks in every year. But right now, we're going to discuss the month of Abib. And it's another sign to us, because you're going to see that it only mentions this month 8 times. The very first time it mentions the month of Abib is in the book of Exodus. Let us turn there. Exodus, the 9th chapter. In the book of Exodus, the 9th chapter, this is what it says. And we're going to read the 31st verse. In the book of Exodus, the 9th chapter, verse 31, and I'll, just for the sake of understanding, we'll start at the 30th verse. But as for thee and thy servants, I know that ye will not fear Yahweh Elohim. And the flax and the barley were ruined. They were destroyed. For the barley was in the ear. In other words, the barley was Abib, because that's what it translated this word Abib to, ear. And the flax was boiled. And what does it mean it was in the ear? In other words, it had grown up. It was at a stage where it had grown up, but it was Abib. But the most important part of this is that Yahweh will call this month Abib. But there was nothing that we had to search and look for. You're going to find out that until we learn the various weeks, the various Sabbaths, the various months, and the various years of Yahweh, this Abib is not going to mean nothing to us. And why? Because little do people know, right after we came out of Egypt, we were in the wilderness for 40 years, and there was no Abib whatsoever. There's no Abib in the wilderness. And Yahweh never sent us out of the wilderness to even search for Abib. This is the first time it was mentioned. The second time this word Abib was mentioned is in the book of Exodus, the 13th chapter. And this is very important to know in Exodus 13. The 4th verse. This is what it says. Exodus 13 and 4. This day came ye out in the month Abib. When our people came out of Egypt, it was the 15th day of the very first month. And that's the first time Yahweh said we came out in the month of Abib. Because it's the month of Abib that we're celebrating. It's not the beginning of the month that we're celebrating. It's just a month, period. Because in this month, Yahweh called it Abib. And our people are under the erroneous impression that they had to go to Jerusalem. They have to have somebody in Jerusalem to let them know when the Abib is. Well, who told us when the Abib was in the wilderness? Well, we kept our calendar. Well, no one. Who journeyed out of the wilderness to see when the Abib was? Nobody. Because the only time we journeyed in the wilderness is by commandment and by law of Yahweh. And not one time did Yahweh send us out of the wilderness to look, to search for Abib. The third time the scriptures mention Abib is in Exodus, the 23rd chapter. And this is what you're going to see. A consistency of truth. That when Abib is mentioned, it's always connected with when we came out of Egypt. And we didn't come out of Egypt at the beginning of Abib. We came out of Egypt the middle of the month of Abib. Matter of fact, the 15th day of the month of Abib. And this is when Yahweh connect the Abib to the month when we came out of Egypt. And you're going to notice something. He never connects to moon when we came out of Egypt. But he did connect Abib. In Exodus, the 23rd chapter, this is what it says. And we're going to start reading at the 14th verse. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in a year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days as I commanded thee. In the time appointed of the month of Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt. None shall appear before me empty. That's when the Abib was mentioned. Again, when we came out of Egypt with the feast of unleavened bread. The 4th and 5th time that Abib is mentioned is in Exodus, the 34th chapter. Let us turn there. Exodus 34. And you're going to read in the 18th verse. In no time will you read this month, this Abib, connected with the beginning of the year, or the beginning of the month, rather, where we had to go search and look for the Abib. It's always connected with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's always connected when we're coming out of Egypt. Watch what it says in the 18th verse. The Feast of Unleavened Bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, in the time of the month of Abib. For in the month Abib thou camest out from Egypt. Because it's always connected to when we came out of Egypt. It's always connected to the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That was the 5th time the word is actually mentioned. One in Exodus 9, one in Exodus 13, one in Exodus 23, and twice in Exodus 34. The 6th time that is mentioned is in the book of Leviticus, the 2nd chapter. Turn there. In the book of Leviticus, the 2nd chapter, the 14th verse, this is what it says. And if thou offer a meal offering of thy first fruits unto Yahweh, thou shalt offer for the meal offering of thy first fruits grain ears, or Abib, because that's what it's translated to. The first fruits, Abib, of corn dried by the fire, even corn beaten out of full ears. One time they translated ears in Exodus, the 9th chapter, but then it's translated grain ears in Leviticus, the 2nd chapter, the 14th verse. And the last 2 times this word Abib is mentioned in the scriptures. Only 8 times. And this is the 7th and 8th time that it is mentioned in the book of Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter. Yahweh said he will make the crooked things straight. Our people searching and going to look for a phase of the moon that's not even mentioned in the scriptures. No phases of the moon. I defy anyone to show me any phase of the moon. And Psalms 81 and 3 is not going to help you. And no other scripture is going to help you. And there are no scriptures where Yahweh had his people going out in the fields to search for Abib. Because the Abib will come every season, like it's supposed to. Or less Yahweh send a famine upon the earth. And when Yahweh send a famine upon the earth, then what will you do? And we've already read in the scriptures that there has been famines in the land of Canaan, where there were no Abib. And when we were in the wilderness for 40 years, no Abib. And when there was no internet, and YouTube. And our people were in captivity. Many captivities, I may add. Who seen the Abib? Deuteronomy 16, the very first verse. The last two times that the word Abib is mentioned. The first verse. Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto Yahweh thy Elohim. And why? Because this is when the Abib is mentioned, the middle of the month. For in the month of Abib, Yahweh thy Elohim brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Again, the eighth time. Seventh and eighth time, the word is mentioned, is always connected with the middle of the month. The 14th and the 15th of the very first month. And let me tell you when it's never mentioned in relationship to the moon. Never, ever. In what phase of the moon? It don't even mention any phase of the moon in the scriptures. As I told you before, everything that we teach, everything that we bring to you will be in 40 minutes or less. For it does not take more than that to prove the word of Yahweh. And until our next program, Yahweh love you, and so do I. Shalom.